Hey guys, BJTHEBRAVE here, bringing you another deck guide, and the first deck guide since the January patch actually landed. So we've literally been live for about 30 hours-ish, and I just wanted to bring you an early guide. This one I'm calling URIEL SWARM. I've played 20 games with this deck, and I'm going to share with you the statistics from that, but it is proving to be pretty good in the new world, the new meta. So yeah, what we're going to do in this guide is we're going to talk about the main focus of this deck's win cons, its strengths and weaknesses. I'll get into the card breakdown. I'm going to talk about kind of some flex spots in case some of the cards you don't have, and we're going to talk a little bit about matchups. And I'll share the stats from my first 20 games, and then we're going to dive into some gameplay afterwards as well. So I've recorded a whole bunch of games, and I'll share some of those so you can check out how it works in practice. Before we jump in, if you're enjoying this content on the channel, thank you so much. Thanks for all the support. I've had lots of good feedback, and thanks to everyone who's subbed. If you haven't yet subscribed or you're here for the first time, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really motivates me to obviously make more content. We've got a lot of big plans coming up in 2024. So without further ado, let's talk about URIEL SWARM. Okay, so first of all, the main focus of this deck is to be an aggro deck. Uriel's new ability gives him a new card, gives him one extra card at the start of the game, and you know, I was talking about this with the Ecclesiarch, and he rightfully pointed out that in this game you often end up with a handful of cards at the end of the game that you obviously haven't used, so they're resources that just weren't used. So when you have an ability like Uriel's, which basically gives you an extra card, what that really sort of screams is to have a low curve and try and actually make use of those resources. So what we're trying to do essentially is kind of be the beatdown in most matchups. We're trying to, you know, put the pressure on, end the game faster than our opponent, and that's one of the main strengths of the deck, is that we can put a lot of early game pressure, we can take control of the board, we can start damaging our enemy warlord quite quickly, and by turn 5 we generally already starting to threaten our opponent. Obviously the main weakness of the deck is that certain builds, if we have a slightly bad draw, so the mulligan's important, and thinking about our curve, if we don't get a good draw or our opponent does find good answers early, that we can kind of end up with a slightly clunky hand, or we're not able to continue the tempo that we built in the first 4 to 5 turns. So our opponent can then kind of catch up and stabilize the board. Typical kind of control. If you've not watched my aggro mid-range control video, go and watch that. I'll leave a link to the description. But essentially, you can end up getting controlled if your opponent can kind of stabilize the board. So that's a bit of a weakness of the deck. But as I say, it's there to be the beatdown, it's there to be aggro, and it does that pretty well. So let's have a quick look at the card breakdown. So we've got the tactical insights. This very much does have rely on codex, and what we're trying to do is get very good codex synergies off. So this is a key card, and it really helps us further that aggro battle plan. What are the codex units? Well, we've got the firstborn in the 2 drops. We have got quite a good curve, so we end up having the Stern Guard codex in the 3 drop. We don't have a codex 4 drop, but we do have a codex 5 drop, and that is the newly buffed Primus Impulsor, and this works really well in this deck because this deck is all about getting low to the ground, quick units out, and so the Primus Impulsor, particularly with the tactical insight, really helps to put a lot of pressure on following that early game that we've just had. And we have 2 more. In the 6 drop we have Lieutenant Calcius. Now this wasn't in the deck originally, and after a small handful of games I realised he was a must. I'm even potentially thinking about putting a second one in. I don't know what I would drop. The obvious thing is to drop 1 scout, but I'm kind of dubious about that. You'll see when you play this game that having that 1 drop can actually be really vital to kind of managing your codexes. So I'm not sure. I'm happy with 1 for now. And last but not least, we have the Epistolary Librarian, which obviously with codex puts a shield on our warlord and can draws a card, and that is very much the top end of the deck. So if you notice, we've only got 3 cards that are above 5 energy, which is those 3 one-offs. Rounding out, as I say, we do run the scout. It's another way of getting 1 damage in. Sometimes you can put this guy in behind an honor guard, and then you can get the 2 damage with his range attack as well. But mainly what he's doing, as well as like finishing units off, he combines quite well with Uriel's Master of the Fleet ability, because they'll deal 1 damage to adjacent enemies. Obviously with the Scout that means we can do 2 damage to something, and the Scout can also go face. And again, in an aggro deck, anything that does damage we want to be able to affect the face, which Master of the Fleet and Scout both can do. We do run Hero's Respite. Again, this card's fantastic because it's got reduced to 2 energy, and what that means is that where Uriel's weakness, one of his weaknesses used to be card draw, and that's what made Calgar and Tigerius just so superior to him, but now that's not the case. Not only does he get an extra card at the start of the game, but we can play Hero's Respite for 2 energy. That's what Manius Calgar's Warlord talent costs, but we're getting 2 units for that 2 energy. We also have the Librarian, as we said earlier, for drawing a card. So between those things, we've actually got we very rarely actually run out of cards, which makes it an effective aggro deck. We do run the Humanity's Shield. Now, you could definitely get away with not running this. I would say in the 20 games that I played, there was 1 game that I would have lost that Humanity's Shield saved me, and I then won. So there will definitely be close games where Humanity's Shield is pretty crucial. I think the Galing Eldar comes to mind, where you're going to have a lot of like really close races, if you like. So I've kept it in for now, but it's definitely a consideration that, you know, if you were thinking about climbing ladder and playing like 50, 100 games, you could say, actually, across that 100 games, how many times does Humanity's Shield, is it worth it? So I always mulligan it away, so I don't have it in my starting hand. You might not draw it, you might not need it, the game might be finished. So it is good, it does help you in races against other aggro decks, that's the main purpose of it. Point blank shot, very good. Again, it can go face, don't underestimate sometimes saving it to give you burn damage to end the game. But of course it can help you trade finish units and continue that card draw, in addition to the other card draw that we talked about earlier. Primaris Reaver is just a really effective, 2 energy, sort of 3 damage removal. Is just excellent. Top draw, removal. We do now run 2 of the Inceptors. Now they got the recent buff up to 4 health from 3. I think that justifies them being back in, and with flank they're really good. They're great against Chaos because Chaos don't generally have good tools to deal with flyers early, sort of pre-turn 5. So Inceptors are a really decent card in this, and again helps us to put pressure. Sometimes we just drop that on the board for tempo, to be honest. Sternguard, really want to have this in our opening hand if possible. Again, just really effective, can't be removed just with a Warlord, unless it's Swarm Lord, of course. And it again, with the Codex ability, putting the pressure on, you'll see in the gameplay that this card is a key part of our strategy. Death from above, in a pinch we can use it for removal, but generally in this deck we want to be using this as our finisher. We're trying to use our units. Again, in my aggro mid-range control deck, I talk a lot about this, so go and watch that. But what we do is we talk about using cheap units in the early game, and then using stratagems as we lose the board to kind of finish the game. So we really want to be using Death from above to go face to kind of essentially end the game. 2 honor guards, solid 4 drops, really good in this deck. Sometimes they can, if we're lucky, if we play well, they can protect like an Impulsor or one of our important earlier games. Units like a Stern Guard. Storm Raven gives us that AoE, great against, obviously really important against the things like Scarabs and Grots and things like that. But again, 2 damage to face, so you'll notice that theme recurring, that we can always damage face. Inspired Retribution is really important because even though this is an aggro deck, obviously one of the counters and weaknesses of an aggro deck is tall Vanguard units, and that's what the Inspired Retributions are there for. They're there to blast through those Lich Guards, those Assault Centurions, etc, etc, those big Chaos units that put the Chaos Pact Vanguard on it, and so that's what that's there for. Primus Impulsor, as we've already talked about, that's one of our codexes. We do run 1 Sergeant. I started out with 2. I'm scared to drop it completely, although I kind of get a feeling that you could drop it completely, but in those games where our opponents do pretty well with trading in the early game, this just does seem to give us just helps us to just go 1 step further in that kind of trading war. So again, you could experiment with 0, 1 of these or 2 of them. Currently I'm running 1. So that's the deck. Just in terms of the defense stratagem, if we're going second, I pretty much always pick the High Fleet command that allows us to reduce the cost of our next unit by 1. Again, it's all about micromanaging that codex ability, so the High Fleet stratagem really helps us with that, and cheat out some early tempo. So in terms of like the matchups, I mean, most of the matchups in the game, we are the aggro deck. There's a few like you know, the Gruk aggro, we might want to particularly look to kind of keep hold of Stormraven. Obviously we already said Scarabs, we want to keep hold of Stormraven, and we might need to play a bit more like a bit more controlly at points against them. We also need to be more aware of our health. The other one I think about is the Galen Eldar, which can race us a little bit if they get a good early curve, but 9 times out of 10 you are playing as the beatdown. It's all about trying to end the game before our opponent. So let me share with you a little bit of the stats. So as I said, I played 20 games with I played 20 games with this, so let me just zoom in a tiny bit. Yeah, here we go. So you can see here we basically ended up with a 65% win rate, so we had 13 wins and 7 losses. I feel really good about this deck, guys, because I have to say I spent the first 7 or 8 games really learning. I made some pretty bad mistakes. I would say at least 2 of those losses, you know, if I was playing like the way I was playing at the end, I would have won those games. So I actually think that you know, my next 20 games could well be slightly higher than that, but you know, I'm showing you what it is. When I went into this, I actually set myself an objective. I wanted it to be over 55%, right? It's Uriel was at a 30-something% win rate on the stats shared by Everguild, and I thought if I can make 55% after 20 games, I'll be quite happy with that. And actually coming out at 65%, with me thinking it could be slightly higher if I kind of played properly in the early games, then you know, I think that could be even, you know, 67-68%. So really happy with that after 20 games. And I do think that this deck is definitely a good deck in the current meta. I think it does very well against Chaos. What it struggled with a little bit is some of the mid-rangey like Calgar and Abaddons. Like if they, you know, it's that classic thing again of the mid-range deck assuming the role of control, and then eventually their units become just too big and valuable, and they kind of take over the board. And if you've not got the health down enough, then you can lose to them. And that's kind of how I lost those games to Calgar and Abaddon. I think I've got one of those in the gameplay somewhere. So yeah. So anyway, speaking of which, let's jump into some games and see how it works in practice. And just once again, if you're with me so far, please like the video and please subscribe to the chat. Consider subscribing if you haven't done already. Now let's jump into some games. Okay, Uriel Mirror.
Swords of Cal, with me, ready for arrowhead formation.
We're going to aggro because he could be playing the sort of vehicle type. We don't know that he's playing aggro.
Shot by shot, we will purge the galaxy.
So the question is, do we want a 50-50 here? Probably not.
We are the sons of Gelena.
Obviously we could have dropped Stern Guard, but we'd have basically lost the match if we lost the 50-50, so gone with a slightly safer play. So pressure's on. We're managing to stay ahead, tempo-wise. I think that's the key here. Just keep developing the board, keep ahead.
We need to move now. Yeah.
Problem is, if we develop the librarian here, he plays Inspired Retribution, and suddenly we're in a lot of trouble.
Knowledge is my blade, wisdom my bullet.
So then again, if he does Inspire Retribution, he wouldn't develop the board, and we could probably still go ahead. Not sure, that was kind of an interesting turn actually. It seemed like my other options were either, obviously I could clear the board but I couldn't really develop the board, or I could develop with this but there'd be a random element as to obviously where the 2 damage went. So that could have gone obviously right, but it could have gone badly wrong too. Okay, cool. Yeah, so he doesn't use the, he doesn't have the retribution. The bike. Shield up. What's the best way to do this then? I guess we just want to put things down on the board, don't we, that are difficult to deal with.
Shot by shot, we will purge the galaxy. One strike is all I need. Yeah.
So double death from above doesn't win him the game here. Oh, he's thinking hard. He's thinking hard. Has he used the Storm Raven yet? Oh, wait a minute. Okay, yeah, he has to use them for removal.
Make the engines roar. It's time to scour this battlefield.
Okay, GG.
Yeah.
Okay. So, let's see how we do. And we're playing against Ghazghkull. Interesting, so we get to see the change immediately. I think we can get rid of one Reaver here. Don't have anything for the insight, so I think we can get rid of that as well. I'm going to keep the rest. So keen to see how Gaz plays out in practice now. Well, here's the grot. So if we're going to get out the Sergeant, it makes sense to just take the 1 damage on the Lord. So we'll kill that. So this is very much an aggro swarm version of the URIEL. I've put 1 Dreadnought in. There's a flex spot. I don't know whether a Dreadnought or a second Scout is enough, but I'm worried I might not quite have the reach without the second Dreadnought. So, yeah, we'll see. It's a really bad turn for us.
Yeah. We'll be dead before they see me coming.
That's a really sad turn. It was a good Gretchen mob. Probably a poor use of the defense stratagem. I wasn't thinking forward far enough ahead. The fact we're behind is not a good sign here. The next turn should be a good one though. This is the problem with Ghazghkull, right? When you don't find the green horde.
There's no hiding from Ultramar's wrath.
Okay, so what's better here? Is this better or is this better?
Yeah.
Like, we can only kill 1 unit anyway, so we might as well use this. It might have even been correct actually to put that on him and take 1 off the Lord. Yeah, I think that might have been better as well. This is I made a lot of mistakes already in this game, which is great. It's a very new deck, very different way of playing. Wow. This is where the scouts are so good as well, like for this kind of thing when you just... Keeping that pressure on, boys. Keeping that pressure on. Question is, okay, yeah, will have got. So if we don't get a proactive draw, we'll probably have to drop the Insector Sergeant here. We just have to keep the tempo up in this deck. Yeah. We can't afford to just play Fleet, unfortunately. So we do play into his removal, but this is the nature of a kind of proactive tempo deck. Okay, well this is good for us. This is very good for us. Do some damage, go on. Nice. Do we want to play that now actually? I think we don't. I think we need to start thinking about efficiency here. So I think we do damage. Because we've got enough energy to play that next turn, right? And then we'd lose out on the 1 damage. He should already be on 5 damage anyway. We messed up with that AoE early against the Gretchen mob. He should be on 5 at the minute. But it's fine. We've kind of... Just our Uriel attack and Death from Above will do it. So we're worried about the Orc Nob player here, I guess. No? Okay. It's fine. We're not concerned about that. Oh, we are concerned about that, though. Ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. So that kills 1. That kills 2. It's not enough. Oh, that kills 3. Oh yeah, it is enough, right? So that kills 1. Yeah. That kills 1. That kills 1. And that kills 1. And we'll finish with Master of the Fleet. Actually, I want to see what I draw. And then we'll finish with Master of the Fleet. Kaboom! Oh man, we're beating down Ghazghkull with Uriel, boys! Uriel Ventress beating down Ghazghkull. What's going on? Oh, we're in a new world, my friends. We are in a new world. Ooh, we're playing Haarken. Okay, I'm really keen to see how this works. So we're actually going first here. Okay, so 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's that one. Yeah. Don't think we need the cheap stratagem. How does this work?
You are nothing before the
Give
might
2
of
blast,
Black
strike. Give a random
Take
dart
down
pack to
those
a
traitorous
a random dart pack to a random friendly troop. You see, they've amended that from what it said in the actual patch notes, because it didn't say random there. So basically, it's double random. That's the question. That explains how it works. Then that's fine. Okay, so we're gonna play.
You will be crushed.
Are we gonna
by
play
the
that?
coming storm.
Yes, we are. Because of the 3 health, we're going to play that over this because it's a more proactive play. It's interesting playing aggro. Just off the start at the back, it does feel so much nicer playing against a kind of 35 health unit. I mean, he might be aggro too. I mean, God knows what his build is here. Now, I'm actually going to attack here because I don't want it to just die into the blast, right? Get an extra 2 damage. So he did 1. He did 2 from his trigger. 1 absorbing an attack. That's 3. And then 4, 5. So 5 damage from that 2 drop. That's brilliant. Spawned. Wow. Okay. Okay, let's keep up the tempo, keep up the pressure. He's still attacking though. He's still attacking. It ain't stopped him. We do need some troops though. We definitely need some troops. Three. Right, so hold up a minute. So 5. So we still need 3, wouldn't we? So that wouldn't be enough just with that. So we're gonna have to double whack this. And whack that with melee, and that keeps the pressure on. See, 3 times in the game we've given him this type of board state where, okay, that's the. I was just going to say where he can't deal with it just with his warlord, but obviously vulnerable is the exception. Hmm. 2, 4. No, I think we're just going to kill this. I might regret that decision. Hand is garbage. Oh, that's lovely.
Knowledge is my blade, wisdom my bullet.
I did it wrong way though, right? I should have I should probably have attacked and then played him for the shield, so I did that wrong. So it's trading, is that right? Oh, execute, nice. Do something like this and basically hope we've got him with the AoE. Oh, double venom crawler. Nice. It's like classic aggro match, right? You've lost the board, but right at the point where you've won. Another win, boys. So that was against Haarken. Okay, Calgar.
We stand ready to fight, Lord Calgar. The 4th Company is in your hands, Brother Captain Ventress. We need to move, now! We will purge the galaxy.
Okay. I'm not sure if that's correct or not, but we're going to try and put... That's kind of like the best tempo play we can make. Okay, so he's going all out vehicles, isn't he? He's probably considering whether to use... yeah, no, he hasn't. Okay.
Taking cover. Enemies in range.
Can't really drop his honor guard here. No. Okay, I'll take that. I mean, he still takes 3 to the face and he doesn't develop the board, and we can now drop our honor guard instead. We have the impulsor next as well. The dream would be to draw the... God, I always forget. What's the name of the 0 cost spell? I always forget the name of it. Because that's why I was worried about him potentially playing on that first turn. When he got the battlefield supremacy off, he could have played that card, got the 2 energy back and then dropped like a bike, for example, which would have been discounted to 2 energy.
The Emperor's work must be safeguarded.
They'll be dead before they see me coming.
A shame we couldn't drop the impulsor. I mean, we could have, and we could have traded with both of those two. Maybe that would have been better. Maybe that would have been better. I think it's turn 7 playing though, we could potentially get a double codex off. A big part with this deck, a big part of the challenge with it is, yeah, putting all the pieces together in the right order, and you've got quite a lot of flexibility because you've got a lot of cheap units. There's a lot of ways you can play it. Two, 4, 6.
Sons of Gilliman.
18? Yeah. Hopefully he plays a dreadnought here. Although, even though we can remove it, we can't really develop the board, so...
There's no hiding from Ultramar's wrath.
I think we basically got a melee attack here. It's the best we can do with that. So a big unit would be good here because we could retribution and then drop the sergeant. How is he up to 9 energy?
There's no hiding from Ultramar's wrath. Ready your jump packs? We strike now.
When a player earns a skull, their opponent gains 1 energy.
Let the roar of our cannons herald their doom.
Okay, we've got quite a nice turn here actually. So we kill that. Hit this. Play this.
Shot by shot, we will purge the galaxy.
So because he's played a 10 mana, a 10 energy unit, and we've obviously killed it with a 5 energy, that's brought us back a lot in tempo. This is a good game. There's a lot of back and forth in this match.
The Emperor's work must be safeguarded. There's no hiding from Ultramar's wrath.
Okay. I guess we lose. Death from above. He's got a second bike. He's got point blank shots. There's quite a lot of damage he's got here. Yeah, he's got it. I think the only other way to do it would have been to like play the honor guard instead, but then he'd have had the 5 to get rid of it, so that wouldn't have worked either. Good game though. That was a really good game. Okay, URIEL versus Abaddon. Sehr interessant, ja. Lot of draw. Quite a reactive hand though. Probably should have mulliganed some of that actually. This helps.
Taking cover. Enemies in range.
I'm going to sacrifice a point of damage to make him deal with it. Yeah.
In your nightmares. One strike is all I need. Yeah.
Flyer's good because his possessed champion can't do anything to that. It's a bit of a problem for Chaos, this card. Should try to remember to probably mulligan for that.
I will see your blood flow.
Happy with that.
Yeah. For courage and honor.
If this is not a bad turn to play a scout, because it would mean that I'd probably get the 2 attack in.
Taking cover. Enemies in range.
Not sure about that though. Sometimes it's quite important to save that for the big codex turns when you need it. But it does mean like the reason for playing it is we are more likely to swing with the 2 damage, you see, because it's behind this. I might actually use Inspired Retribution here. Just because like often the dark packs, when they get resilience, you can't do anything with it. The other way we could do it is to just play one of these for 3, 4, 5 and play that. Okay, let's do that.
Be dead before they see me coming.
Actually, better yet. Let's play with this and get the card draw.
Yeah.
And that way we've still got the retribution for if he drops like a Hellbrute or something.
Embrace the power of chaos.
Not resilient. Okay, nice. Is that GG? I know, because he's going to taunt this up now, isn't he? Oh no. Boom! Another win against the Abaddon. URIEL Swarm's for real, boys. URIEL Swarm is for real. Nice. Deck's doing well. Well, hope you like that, guys. If you enjoyed this deck, then like and subscribe to the channel for more content. I'll see you in the next one.